Well, it's been a while. Since the last time y'all had saw me in this kind of format, I have been busy and a lot of changes had happened. Some good changes. I'm finally an author, and this video is going to talk about how I became an author and what had happened since I've been on here. For those who really don't know, I started writing the Doppelganger Queen back in fall of 2016. I was looking for a project that was going to be a creative outlet while I was going through some government applications. I wanted something that was close to my biology field. I was a 3-degree vet tech, and I was wanting something that was a little bit more laboratory based instead of clinical based to utilize my skill set. But yet, somehow, deep down inside, I needed a creative outlet. I wasn't allowed to play my violin because that is too disruptive to my neighbors. I was really stifled in having anything creative, and because I was in between jobs, I didn't have the money resources to continue crocheting. So I thought, let's get into story. Making stories, put it on paper, have fun with it. It's just what everyone does, right? Create fanfic, create little stories, and put it up on fanfic websites, and something to get my mind off of other things that were going on. It was supposed to be a short story. It was supposed to be a short story. This was supposed to be a short story. It was supposed to be something that helped me get unstuck from another story I was having a hard time putting it together. It was a exploration about conflict and grief and how to rise above conflict and grief, and it became a novel. By the time I finished the first draft, which was about early spring of 2017, this took about 5 months or so to finish. Trump became president for his first administration, and as usual, he had tightened the budget, and there were a lot of layoffs, and all the applications for any government position had been wiped. I happened to be one of those that were applying. I could have applied to university positions. I could have. But with the tightening of the budget, that also meant limiting educational funds, and it wasn't likely I was going to get in based on that reduced funds for education, which is not as severe as what we're experiencing right now. I sat there wondering about my prospects, and I realized I can become an author. I made something that is worthy of reading for other people, and I wanted to share it. And I decided then and there to make it my profession and be an author. We're going to be joined by Blondie for the rest of this video. So back in 2017, I decided to edit the book. I did several drafts before I sent it to my beta readers, who I said thank you in the acknowledgments. You know who you are. Thank you so much for helping me go through such a very bare bones kind of story. There are some changes. I will warn you. Some things have been altered since you have read it. It didn't really stay the same. After receiving the papers back from the beta readers, I revised it some more, and I cleaned it up to the best of my abilities, and I went into the query trenches. That was about the fall of 2018, about like 2019. And ever since then, I have been doing YouTube videos for all of you, and been revising and going back to the query trenches and make some more videos, etc. You know, the cycle kind of goes on. Eventually, I exhausted my list of literary agents. For those who don't know, in the industry, you don't submit your work multiple times. You submit it once in a packaged email to the best of your degree, and you let them know, like, hey, I made this thing. Would you be interested? Here's the premise, etc. You know, here's the sample chapter that will hopefully intrigue you, you know, etc. Literary agents receive thousands of these type of emails on a daily basis. The moment they advertise that they're open for submissions, they get really swamped. So it's hard to jump out to a literary agent and grab their attention from thousands of people who had submitted their stuff. But it kept going from 2019 on, to like when I finally left YouTube for Twitch. Just this feedback loop of revising it, sending it back to the query agents, and getting rejected, going back, revising it, and doing it over and over again. I didn't realize there are some literary agents that would refuse a story because it had LGBTQ characters. Back then, I didn't think that was a possibility. I thought, surely they're just judging it based on my skill. Surely they're just judging it based on, like, how dramatic the story is. Maybe they're just, you know, not grabbing... Maybe the story's not really grabbing their attention. Maybe I need to do more. I didn't realize there are some, not all, just some, in the industry that are anti-LGBTQ, anti-Black, anti-people of color, anti-whatever it is. And they let those type of biases come into play as they're picking or choosing some stories. And I understand that this may have been subconscious, but going through this current administration and everyone's just showcasing their true colors, I think that there are some people who are deliberately using these biases as the kind of like bar or standard in selecting some of these stories. There's no way for me to prove it. There's no way for me to figure out who it is that thinks this way. I always try my best to give people the benefit of the doubt and think, oh, this may be a me problem. But I'm slowly coming to this realization that no, there could be issues in the industry, especially among literary agents, that allow these type of discriminatory biases to interfere with, you know, publishers and other editors trying to get really good stories. So it was something I didn't consider as I was going through the trenches. And by the time 2023 hit, in January, February, I was scraping down to the barrel. I was very adamant in trying to get this story out, and I was frustrated that I ran out of literary agents to submit to. So I turned to my coworker Matt and everyone else who was there, like, I had it. You know, I had it. I'm not going to be agented anymore. I'm going to have to do this on my own. I was considering, like, other independent publishers that allow open submissions, but it was just so hard to figure out who to submit it to. And I was of the mindset of becoming independent entirely because it was hard for me to figure out who I should trust with a story that will be, who's going to treat me right? Who's going to treat the story right? Because it does have like a trans hero in the mix. And, it's going to be hard for me to select who's going to do that, because once you're under contract, that's it. It's hard to break out of a contract without an agent, which is why I was wanting one in the first place. And my coworker Matt said, there's a publisher who I really like that I have gone to multiple times to like read their stories, and I enjoy the quality of their work, and I think you should consider them. He had said it was for Horsemen Publications that he had been going to in the conventions, that he really loved their stories, and he thinks my story will be a wonderful fit with them. And sure enough, when we look on their website, they were open for submissions. I thought, okay, let's just see how it goes. It may not work out, because I had done years of submitting all this material, months of submitting this material, and nothing came out of it. So I thought, okay, let's just see how it is. If I get rejected, no problem. I'll consider other independent publishers. At least that's an avenue I haven't considered yet that I was willing to explore, even though it's a little bit dicey. In June, they came back and said, yeah, we like your story. We want to really see if you're a good fit with us, but we are intrigued with what you have written, and we would like to work with you some more. And I was blown away. I almost said no. I almost said no. At the time, I was working part-time for a entertainment company, and I was trying to be practical. I was trying to be like, let's make sure I have enough money to pay rent. Maybe this is not going to work out. I was so used to hearing no that I started telling myself no. It took 2 people to convince me to just go and do it. One was Morgan, who streams as Treasure Trove on Twitch. She does tarot readings, and I was really getting into tarot back then. I really loved watching those streams. It was educational for me, and hers was, it really touched me. In a way, like, it resonated. It was messages I was really needing to hear, and I was kind of filled with this dread and anxiety of, like, where should I go in my life? Should I accept this opportunity, or should I just say, no, thank you, but no, thank you. I'm going to, like, focus on something that is going to pay the bills. And between her and my mom, who sat me down and said, like, look, not everyone has a yes. I finally did say yes. It was something I was working hard for. It was something I was trying to make happen. And for me to, like, I was scared. And I almost said no, because I thought, oh geez, how am I going to do something that's going to accrue money, that type of thing. And sometimes some things are just worth fighting for that doesn't necessarily need to have a practical application. And at the time, I was doubting myself, and I was about to say no to an opportunity that I may never get down the road. So I'm glad I was able to say yes, and I'm glad I was able to be accepted by 4 Horsemen and be part of their publishing house as an author. And working with wasn't necessarily easy. They do have a very tight schedule. They want to bring the apocalypse to the publishing industry because they feel like there are ways to streamline the process that is beneficial for authors and the publisher. And they were just frustrated with, the delays and stagnation that they're seeing from the industry, and they felt that they could do better, which I agree. They have like 15 plus years of experience. The majority of them are fellow authors who have been in the industry for a long time, who really know how to cater to their audience, who are able to create really quick material, and they know what's what. And I'm forever humbled and grateful to work with people who understand the industry and is willing to help you along, help you, get to where you need to be. I'm still learning the process, and I'm still working out some kinks, most of which is on my end and my mentality of the situation. But for the most part, it wasn't that bad. It was just quicker than I expected, which I'm finally able to get a hang of. I finally found a system that allows me to draft my story a little bit quicker, do some revisions a little bit quicker. It's just like time management that I needed to do. And I got a good rhythm down, so I don't feel as stressed as I was when I was first coming into their publishing house. After 2023, they changed distributors, which delayed the process, and finally was able to get this book edited in April of last year, 2024, and it was published fully in December 4th of last year. So it's been a full 4 months since this is out. And sorry that I left you all out on YouTube. I have been tooting my horn on Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky and on Twitch. I was not in the mindset of coming back to YouTube at all whatsoever. So sorry, but it is out. It is a wide distribution. You could find it anywhere, like Kubo, bookshop.org, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, if you really want to deal with Amazon. You could have it in your library if you really want to. In fact, I encourage everyone to check it out in the library. That way, if it's something that you really love and you love reading it, at least you know that this is worthy of a purchase for you. My publisher still gets paid when the library orders it and have it stock in their branch. And almost all of my YouTube videos, especially the VODs, and this video will have the links down below. You could order it however you wish. There's ebooks, soft books or paper books, and hardcovers. Audiobook is still in the process. I know it's been like 4 months, how dare I. It's still just trying to find the right narrator. And that takes money and time to find a really good voice actor to really give the mood that this really calls for. This is a little bit creepy and a little bit heavy on some topics, and it's just trying to find the right person who brings not only these characters to life, but also kind of like have you all immersed in the world. I heard like horror stories of people like just DNFing books simply because they don't like listening to the narrator. So I'm trying my best to find someone who is just right, and that's going to take some time. So apologies on the wait. We will find someone soon. I just don't know when. But this isn't the only thing I have been working on. Like I said, this is the beginning of the Silver Fox series. I have the second book already submitted to my publisher. In a couple of weeks or so, me and the publishing editors are going to sit down and look over it, and we're going to start fixing up and making it pretty for all of you to enjoy. So that is something I'm going to be dealing with pretty soon. And sometime by the end of this year, it will be out. Hopefully around October, if nothing really throws a wrench in the process, just kind of hoping things will work out there. If not, I will keep you all informed. So, second book is in the publisher house, and I'm working on the third book. The third book is still in its first draft. I'm close to finishing the first draft, and once that's done, I'll take a break, probably to edit the second book. Why am I holding this? This is not the second book. To edit the second book, and then I'll jump back into the third book, do some revisions. And my vision is to have it like a 12-book series. It may be a little bit longer. The second book that I wanted to do ended up splitting into two. So there's a second book and there's a third book that's going on. So there's no guarantees I could stick to just 12. It could be more. Trying my best to make it a little bit smooth and streamlined for everyone, but then again, this was supposed to be a short story. That's kind of like my author journey. I still would have liked to have a literary agent, someone who would have known the industry, someone who would have advocated this work, someone who would know who would be wonderful to connect with, and kind of help me through the process as the industry continues to turn. That was something that I was wanting and needing for the long time, and in no way I would dismiss querying for a lit agent at all whatsoever. But there is an issue in the industry where there are some bad actors who tend to let their biases come into play in picking and choosing a story that has nothing to do with how the story is expressed in its dramatic telling. And something as superficial as a character's skin color or gender identity or sexual orientation, for the most part, doesn't really come into major play in how a story is told in a dramatic arc or any other sense of the word. So I fear that those kind of people have a tendency to kind of muddle the waters and creates a wedge between the author and the publisher. And this is by no means, saying the publisher is innocent in all of this. There are some people who probably are of the same mentality that has a tendency to think in terms that are very dismissive or discriminatory or have some sort of bias, and that kind of colors the viewpoint that tends to not be objective about how do we tell a story that's dramatic that grabs everyone's attention. And this is by no means about politics or anything, or red, white, and blue or whichever. It's just this is an issue that has been going on in the industry for quite some time. And it's not just the book industry, it's other major institutions and other fields of work. this is just as valuable as the rest of the other institutions. And I do encourage those who do have the care and responsibility to start creating changes that would be beneficial for everyone. Not necessarily like DEI, but like trying to be objective and look at the story without those type of biases would be nice. But alas, everyone's human, and we all have our faults, and that's how the cookie crumbles. So until such a change occurs, I would advocate looking into independent publishers that are willing to give other career voices and marginalized voices a chance. And hopefully everyone is treated right as they try to get their stories out. I will always support independent authors. I support independent publishers. I support any author, whether they have an agent or not. We're all in this boat together, just trying to get our stories out there. And your process and how you become an author will be long and arduous, and it's going to look different for you as it was very different for me. And I think the major takeaway here is that you just don't give up. You just don't give up. You don't give up on your stories. You find a home. Somehow, in some way, you give it a home. And someone out there is going to pick it up and enjoy it. And that's all of that matters at the end of the day. So, what does that mean from here on out? Now that I'm an author, I will have more book signings. There will be more interruptions with Twitch streaming, which, yay. Not that I want interruptions with Twitch streaming, but I would like to go out and meet all of you in person through book signings and book panels and going to conventions. All that lovely stuff. And also continue to work on my stories. So you probably are not going to see major gameplay videos that are edited just for YouTube. You're probably going to see videos from my Twitch VOD that are hours long, unedited, unfiltered, for your viewing pleasure that you can have on the background and hopefully enjoy. I'm also doing tarot streams on Twitch. I know it's not really something that y'all are interested in here on YouTube, but a lot of people love experiencing it on Twitch, and that is something I will continue to do just in case y'all missed out on those live streams. I will always put them up here on YouTube. That way you can catch up and, see if the message resonates or not. Who knows, maybe I would do like a little video about like how I got into tarot and all that fun stuff. But for now, I encourage everyone to not give up. Continue to do the best of your abilities to be objective when you do editing. Do try to continue to advocate for your story. Do continue to try to connect with other people. And when the opportunity comes, by God, don't say no, because I almost did, and I wouldn't have this. So, please, don't give up on it. It will take years, and it will take hard work. Believe me, I almost tear my hair out, try to figure out how to make this the best story I could. And I'm so glad I finally connected with editors that will help me out with that. So, yeah, don't give up. That's the whole crux of it. Someone out there is going to love it, and that would be the best connection that you have. And hopefully it will be someone who understands the industry and will help you out. And hopefully you will find an audience who loves it and will really advocate your work. I really, really do hope everything works out for you if you're in the same boat. And whether or not you're an author or a writer, but you have other creative works, keep at it. the more you do the thing, the more that you understand your craft, and it feels great. And you get better at it. You will create your own style. And someone out there is going to love it. Just keep doing it. Okay. I'm going to go. I'll see you all later. Just expect more shorts and VODs from me. And as always, if you want to ask any questions, if it's spoilers, make sure you tag it as a spoiler. Or if there's any trigger warnings, make sure you add the trigger warnings. But don't hesitate to ask me anywhere on Blue Sky, on YouTube. You could always pop in on Twitch to ask me questions about the book. I will yap about it. I will totally yap about it. Don't worry. All right, I'll see you all later. Bye.